If you want to build a precision motor, you have to start with the Precision Factory. The Arctic Cat engine assembly plant in St. Cloud, Minnesota is one of the finest examples in the world. Motors that come from within these walls reflect our determination to deliver the highest quality snowmobiles possible.
The 600 two-stroke, our own engine, we've had great success with it. It's been very durable.
This two-stroke, known as the 6000 C-Tech 2, was born and raised on the racetrack. It has seen the most brutal testing conditions and proven its reliability in countless races, including the infamous 2,000-mile Iron Dog.
During the Iron Dog race up across Alaska, I was able to test our 6000 C-Tech. Pretty grueling race, and all 17 Arctic Cat C-Techs finished that race up there, so that was a pretty big accomplishment.
The beauty of testing and developing Arctic Cat engine technology on the racetrack is the opportunity it provides for racer input.
The 600 motor has been just phenomenal. As a racer, I see the technology that we get to test and build on, and that does go into the consumer sleds.
I've been lucky enough to win a couple points championships on this new 600. It's an awesome motor. Even modified, it produces a lot of horsepower.
We knew we wanted to build the most reliable two-stroke 600 available, but it also had to be extremely efficient.
Put a lot of miles on them. They don't burn a lot of oil. Real efficient up and down the trail. The engine gets a lot of time on it, and they're really durably built.
Modern engine design means fewer moving parts, less weight, exacting specifications, and world-class quality control. In the case of the 6000, dual-stage injection reduces the distance fuel has to travel. Fuel is injected directly into the boost port side of the cylinder, increasing performance and fuel economy while reducing emissions. At lower RPMs, fuel enters the top of the piston. At higher RPMs, a small amount of oil is delivered to the engine's critical wrist pin bearings for superior lubrication. The electronic oil pump meters fuel-oil ratios by RPM and by altitude, dramatically improving fuel and oil consumption. The C-Tech 2 6000 is evidence of what's to come. C-Tech 2 power from Arctic Cat is legendary. Deciding how much power you want is the hard part. Talk to your dealer about which engine package is right for you.
Over 5 years in the making, thousands of hours of testing, the latest technology in snowmobile engine design is finally here. Introducing the all-new Arctic Cat 8000 C-Tech 2 two-stroke engine. More durable, reliable, fuel-efficient, responsive, and powerful than the previous 8000 model. The evolved high-output 8000 follows on the heels of our award-winning 6000 model, built in our very own plant in St. Cloud, Minnesota. The 160 class horsepower twin-cylinder laydown engine is built to deliver responsiveness and run quality for a smooth yet powerful ride. Power starts with maximum efficiency. Dual-stage injection, or DSI, reduces the distance fuel has to travel. Oil mixes with the fuel and directly injects into the cylinder's boost port side. This increases performance and fuel economy while reducing emissions. At lower RPMs, the mixture enters on top of the piston. At higher RPMs, the mixture travels through the piston slot with a small amount of oil and is delivered to the engine's wrist pin bearings for superior lubrication. This new DSI system produces some impressive numbers when compared to the previous model. You'll notice greater oil and fuel efficiency, even at peak power. The electronic oil pump also maximizes efficiency. It precisely measures fuel-to-oil ratios by RPM and altitude, dramatically improving fuel and oil consumption. But we didn't stop there. We designed an optimized combustion chamber shape that maximizes combustion efficiency. Further proof that every detail, down to the millimeter, has been perfected. Beyond efficiency, it's also built to just plain run. A new fuel rail damper creates more consistent balance between cylinders for a smooth, glitch-free ride. The new 8000 has torque and speed to spare, due in part to a new exhaust valve control that greatly improves low and mid-range torque. You'll notice quicker throttle response even at higher elevations. You'll also enjoy easier and more consistent starting and a knock control system designed for several fuel scenarios. It all adds up to the greatest evolution of an engine we've ever made. And you can get your hands on one now. Early release 2018 M and ZR8000 models are available at your dealer. See for yourself. The latest in high-performance engine technology is ready to dominate in the wide world of Arctic Cat.
With this 998cc turbo, it's a triple cylinder 4-stroke turbo. The engine's actually built by Yamaha. Our 9000 was a good benchmark, had great power, didn't lose horsepower at altitude, spinning that 162-inch track, some good power behind it to really get through the really deep powder. We not only kept that power, we increased it to 180 horsepower, but then also we took close to 10 to 15 pounds out of that engine package itself.
This 998 Turbo is a highly efficient 3-cylinder 4-stroke turbocharged engine, complete with intercooler and a unique air bypass circuit, delivering incredible performance with uncompromised throttle response. The side-mounted turbocharger receives fresh air through a screened and baffled intake plenum. The air is pressurized and fed to 3 independent throttle bodies located close to the intake valves through equal-length delivery tubes. The air-to-air intercooler lowers the temperature to increase density. Balanced combustion occurs in each cylinder for maximum efficiency and response. The engine's key components, including pistons, connecting rods, and crankshaft, are all designed specifically with additional strength to handle this increase in performance for uncompromised reliability. The turbocharger is also designed for high durability. A special ceramic ball bearing supports the impeller shaft. It is able to withstand extreme temperatures, RPM, and pressure while reducing friction and loss. 9 sensors relay operating conditions to the ECU, which commands precise control over the turbocharger system. When the optimum target pressure is reached, the ECU triggers a solenoid to open the internal wastegate valve, redirecting exhaust flow away from the impeller. Ideal intake manifold pressure is further maintained by a unique air bypass valve. When the throttle valves are suddenly closed, the rapid increase in pressure can cause a detectable surge. The air bypass valve instantly opens, redirecting air into the intake plenum. As the target pressure is reached, the air bypass valve closes and the ideal pressure is held. The turbo engine remains efficient, able to respond with no perceptible hesitation as the throttle valves reopen, producing seamless power on its way to peak RPM. The new Arctic Cat 998 Turbo is the ultimate snowmobile performance engine. The advanced electronic system, along with unique features like triple throttle bodies and air bypass circuit, combine to deliver incredible throttle response from any speed or RPM. Engineered with Arctic Cat quality, this 998 Turbo promises the most sophisticated arm-stretching power in the industry.
Yamaha put together an engine package that is really going to rip it up anywhere where they need that extra horsepower and that extra track to get where they want to go.
The Midwestern guy is going to love this new 9000 998. It's going to be really cool to race down the trails in the Midwest on and then bring it out in the mountains and just rally around.
Arctic Cat always commands enormous respect for our 4-stroke power lineup. Jaws will drop as the 998 Turbo shows 4-stroke enthusiasts what it means to be clean, dependable, and absurdly powerful. Our newest member of the lineup won't be stealing all the thunder. In addition to the 998, designated the 9000, the Arctic Cat 4-stroke lineup also includes the 7000, a top-performing 135 class horsepower 4-stroke, as well as the very practical and reliable 65 class horsepower 3000, introduced in 2016. Clean, efficient, powerful. We'll say no more. The rest is up to you to experience.
Stay cold this summer at Club Winter. Winter. It's the hottest place to wait for winter. Listen to DJ Squatch get ice cold on the ones and twos. Ride Snowflake the mechanical sled. Suck in sweet and thin alpine air at the world's only mountain air bar. Chill out next to icy cold ice sculptures. Club Winter is the only place for party people who live for winter.
The Procross chassis is a very strong chassis. It's got a two-piece tapered tunnel design that gives you great stiffness as well as good ergos with the sidewalls being tipped in. Allows the rider to stand up, sit down, nice transition. The front bulkhead area with the lower frame design is all a boxed-in, very rigid chassis that ties in with the side and overspar structure. All in all those components bolted together box the Procross chassis in and make it very durable, very rigid, and lightweight. We learned a lot of what we learned on the racetrack to help develop the Procross ProClimb Arctic Race front suspension. It's very unique compared to a lot of the other snowmobiles out there with its wide A-arms, forged aluminum spindles. Not only does it make the suspension function well, but it also helps with the chassis design. So with the wide spacing, what it does is it allows the suspension linkages and all the joints, if there's any bit of clearance, which every bushing axle has to have, having the upper and lower A-arms spaced further apart keeps a tighter suspension system overall. So that's one of the big advantages with having that upper and lower A-arm spread apart as far as we do. The slide action suspension's been around since early 2000s. It was developed on the racetrack with Russ Ebert, Kirk Hibbert. They've raced it for quite a few years in development. It's got a great geometry to it in the sense and how it functions. It's the only coupled suspension in the industry that allows you to control transfer but yet maintain full front arm travel. That's the big plus with that suspension, is how it slides in the front arm as it couples up in the rear and maintains the front arm travel but yet still gives you good cornering.
ZR suspension systems employ a variety of shocks depending on the ride package, starting with Arctic Cat IFP shocks.
These are internally floating piston design, meaning that it's an aluminum body. And the value of that is that it's a higher end rebuildable shock, so very long lasting, but after you get 4,000 or 5,000 miles on a sled, it's nice to be able to take your shocks and get them rebuilt.
Fox Zero RC shocks are featured in the front suspension of SnowPro models.
The Fox Zero 1.5 RC. This gives you some adjustability with rebound and bleed adjust, but what it does is actually controls the compression and rebound. So if you want to turn it up, it stiffens the shock, and if you turn it down, it makes a little softer package. So it gives that customer a little more options for the actual calibration of the shock itself.
Multiple versions of Fox Zero QS3 adjustable shocks come standard on limited and exclusive factory spring models.
The simplicity of it is what's going to really make the customer happy. He's going to be able to go down, look at his shock, know exactly where it's at, and be able to move it to either a softer, stiffer setting. Some shocks come with a hand knob, but you don't know where you're at in the 24-click range, so it's going to allow them to make a lot easier, quicker adjustment on the trail and be able to go back to that setting and visually know where they're at when they hop off to make the adjustment. The team-driven clutch is something that we've been running on the racetrack for the last 10 years. Very proven design. They're well known in the transmission clutch industry.
We've seen great success on the racetrack with the team clutch, and now being able to put it in our consumer sleds is very exciting to me because it's a very reputable, very durable, lightweight clutch.
This is about competition, about winning, about leaning into performance and riding like never before. Arctic Cat dominates the crossover category. There are 4 different models in the XF lineup, all with different features to satisfy the whims of every rider. Whether you love flying across miles of trail, or you can't get enough of the powder, there's an XF for you. 3 unique chassis define the lineup: Pro Tour, Pro Cross, and Pro Climb. Enter the XF Cross Tour, featuring the Pro Tour chassis. Engineered for long-distance riding, the occasional off-trail excursion is always encouraged.
The Pro Tour chassis, as opposed to the Pro Climb or the Pro Cross, is obviously it's a little stronger. It's built, it's a single one-piece tunnel. It has steel tube running board supports, steel tube bumper, things that make it a stronger vehicle for the capability of hauling a little more cargo. Of course, hauling 2 people for a touring application. That's probably the big difference. The front ends are very similar. The front structure of the chassis, the front suspension, very similar to what you're going to see in Pro Cross. But really the differences come from the drive shaft back, and that's it's just a longer chassis with more strength built in and holds longer tracks, which are typically a better application for touring. With a 146-inch length, still gives you the ability to get off trail. It gives you lots of traction, a lot of track underneath you to get in the powder and do a lot of the fun things out in the powder, but it still gives you a good length for spanning the bumps when you're on the rough trails.
Feast your eyes on the XF Crosstrek and the XF Cross Country, featuring the Pro Cross chassis brought over from the performance category. You know its trail strengths. Here's why it's so competent off-trail.
Well, the Pro Cross chassis is a very strong chassis. It's got a 2-piece tapered tunnel design that gives you great stiffness as well as good ergos with the sidewalls being tipped in. Allows the rider to stand up, sit down, nice transition. Moving up to the front, the front bulkhead area with the lower frame design is all a boxed in, very rigid chassis that ties in with the side and over spar structure. So all in all those components bolted together box the Pro Cross chassis in and make it very durable, very rigid, and lightweight. We learned a lot of what we learned on the racetrack to help develop the Pro Cross Arctic Race front suspension. It's very unique compared to a lot of the other snowmobiles out there with its wide arms, forged aluminum spindles. Not only does it make the suspension function well, but it also helps with the chassis design. So with the wide spacing, what it does is it allows the suspension linkages and all the joints, if there's any bit of clearance, which every bushing axle has to have, having the upper and lower arms spaced further apart keeps a tighter suspension system overall. So that's one of the big advantages of having the upper and lower arms separated. Slide action suspension's been around since early 2000s. It was developed on the racetrack with Russ Ebert, Kirk Hibbert. They raced it for quite a few years in development, It's got a great geometry to it in the sense and how it functions. It's the only coupled suspension in the industry that allows you to control transfer but yet maintain full front arm travel.
If you're happiest in the powder, you gotta have an XF High Country featuring the incredibly capable Pro Climb chassis and mountain skid frame.
We still offer the telescopic post in the high country, and we see a lot of value in that because the high country generally is a model where you get a lot of guys that will use it for more trail than off trail. I'd say it's probably more 75% off trail and 25% trail that they'll use the high country with. So that's where the telescopic post really shines, because those guys will have the ability to raise it up when they get off trail and then just drop it down if they're generally more trail riding than mountain riding. The high country has a 141-inch track, power claw track with a 2¼ lug. It gets the new lightweight A-arms, but instead of a 36-inch ski stance, it actually gets a 40-inch ski stance. And one of the big benefits of that too is with our new front end being able to adjust the ski stance, so they can have some adjustment on that high country and get it down to below 40-inch ski stance. And so it'll perform well on the trails as well as off trail.
The XF lineup is all about choice. Naturally, that means there's a number of 2- and 4-stroke engine options. The entire lineup boasts race-proven team clutches.
The team-driven clutch is something that we've been running on the racetrack for the last 10 years. Very proven design. They're well known in the transmission clutch industry, and we're pretty excited to be able to put this product on our performance models.
Aggressive trails, deep powder, and everything in between. The Arctic Cat XF crossovers are built to go where you want to go. You're an Arctic Cat rider. That's why you ride more.
The things that we did in 2016 with the new Arctic Mountain suspension, the float action rear skid frame, the new Pro Climb 7 skis have made a tremendous difference on how this sled works out in the snow. The other thing that we've been focusing on is reducing some weight. We want to provide a vehicle right out of the chute that's as light as we can get it, but still durable. At Arctic Cat, we strive to lose weight every year, but we don't want to do it at the sacrifice of durability. When we designed the Arctic Mountain suspension, the big focus was on how to get the sled to initiate a side hill easier. So we changed the caster angle in the spindles, actually moved it back 10 degrees from 17 degrees to 27 degrees. And what that does is that when you're in a side hill and you counter steer, now the outside edge of the ski that's inside to the side hill is actually flipped up a little bit, so it conforms to the side of the hill better, and you just feel more confident.
The spindle here, if you can see, is a whole new spindle. It's smaller, lighter weight. That is tipped at a 10 degrees back for a caster change. Allows you the side hill, and when you cut through the snow better, less surface area to run into the snow. And with this caster change, when you turn the steering, the skis have a more angle to them, they roll up. So we see that on the cutting on the hillside, the ski kind of follows the terrain of the hill, so you're not using as much effort to hold the side hill with the ski in there. It kind of rolls up the hill with you and help you maintain your line.
Along with the changes that we made to the front end to make it handle better, we also did quite a bit of work on the rear suspension to improve the balance as well as the ride control. Working with team clutches, for me, is we started that back in model year 2004 on the race sled. We really liked how their clutch worked. So Now, when we go to team clutches on our Pro Climb sleds, I'm pretty excited about it for a few reasons, in that they have a very good reputation of durability. The clutches that we've been running with them, working with them on it, have performed very well. We feel that it's just smoother engagement and works smoother throughout the whole range of gearing, so to speak. It's all the things that make a mountain sled work good is the things that we work on. We get a lot of pressure. Our mountain guys are very passionate about the next great thing, but we're always striving to not bring it out unless we're truly feel that it's going to be a benefit and it's going to make the model work better. All that kind of stuff takes time, but we don't want to give it to the customer until it's right. So that's something we'll continue to strive to do.
With best in the mountains horsepower and a race-proven drivetrain, these machines are ready to own the deep powder and conquer the peaks. The Panteras are built on two different chassis, the Pro Tour and the larger Pro Tour XT. Let's start with the Pro Tour.
The Pro Tour chassis, as opposed to the Pro Climb or the Pro Cross, it's a little stronger. It's built, it's a single one-piece tunnel. It has steel tube, running board supports, steel tube bumper, things that make it a stronger vehicle for the capability of hauling a little more cargo. Of course, hauling two people for a touring application. Really, the differences come from the drive shaft back, and that's it's just a longer chassis with more strength built in for the ability to carry more stuff, carry an extra person, and house longer tracks, which are typically a better application for touring.
The Pro Tour chassis features the Arctic Race suspension up front and a 146-inch track and slide-action rear suspension for ultimate comfort on the trail. The larger Pro Tour XT chassis is featured on the Pantera XT Limited. This chassis also sports the ARS front suspension for great trail handling. In back, it employs a wide track and the articulating extra action rear suspension, making the Pantera 7000 XT Limited a very capable sport utility machine as well.
And what the articulating rear suspension does is it basically means the rear of the suspension is allowed to move up and down as the skid frame works through the bumps or through the snow, which essentially shortens up the rear. So on a wide track 7000 XT like this, you have 20-inch wide track by 154-inch length, which is very long track, very wide track, with a lot of traction on the ground. What the articulating frame does is it allows the back of that track to come up, which shortens the feel of the snowmobile when you're riding it forward or when you're riding it on the trails. But where a real big benefit comes in is where you're backing up in the snow, that rear of that skid frame will come up and want to get up on top of the snow versus go straight or dig into the snow.
The Pantera 7000 XT Limited also features the wide-range 3-speed transmission with Easy Shift.
We have a high, a low, and a super low, which gives you the ability to still be geared up high enough to run at trail speeds and still be able to run across a lake as fast as you want, but also has the ability to gear down to a more reasonable level for mid-trail use or light pulling and things like that. It's a single one-piece tunnel. It has steel tube running board supports, steel tube bumper, things that make it a stronger vehicle for the capability of hauling a little more cargo, of course hauling 2 people for a touring application. Our new 10/8 skis, along with a 38-inch ski stance, which the combination of the two makes it very easy to maneuver in the deep powder. And this vehicle is designed for that person who likes to get out and meander around, or I'll say kind of boondock through the woods, haul light loads. It becomes a real economical option for somebody who's looking for light utility use.
The Pro Ute WT boasts a larger, heavy utility chassis built for on and off-trail duty. This Bearcat gets the powerful 7,000 3-cylinder EFI 4-stroke with 135 class horsepower. This chassis employs a longer, wider track and the articulating extra action rear suspension. Note also the standard passenger seat.
On a wide track 7000 XT like this, you have 20-inch wide track by 154-inch length, which is very long track, very wide track, which is a lot of traction on the ground. What the articulating frame does is it allows the back of that track to come up, which shortens the feel of the snowmobile when you're riding it forward or when you're riding it on the trails. But where a real big benefit comes in is where you're backing up in the snow, that rear of that skid frame will come up and want to get up on top of the snow versus go straight or dig into the snow. Another nice benefit of our new articulating skid frame is the ability to lock and unlock it. So if you do want to lock it in for certain use, you can. It's a real easy pull and plug pin. And the reason you would maybe lock it in is if you want more traction on the ground, you could lock the frame in, get all that track there for pulling. That'll help you keep your ski pressure. That'll help you keep more track on the ground for pulling large loads. The benefits of the narrower ski stance just gives you the ability to get between obstacles and maneuver in the deep snow. And that kind of ties right into our new 10/8 skis, which are all new design, 8-inch ski for the majority, but it has a 10-inch tip, and the skis themselves are tipped up in the front much more, which allows them to get up on top of the snow. It allows you to run in deep snow and not trench, and makes for a much more oftenly ski.
Both the Bearcat 7000 XT and 7000 XT GS bring you the advantages of Team Industries clutching, namely excellent durability and easier maintenance. By eliminating belt skid, these clutches stay cooler under pressure. When belt and clutch temperatures are reduced, more power is transferred to the track. The story continues with the incredible wide-range 3-speed or WR3 transmission.
Our new tri-shift feature is going to be a very huge feature for us. We've been asked by our customers to come with a high-low transmission, and we've kind of one-upped them as we have a high, a low, and a super low, which gives you the ability to still be geared up high enough to run at trail speeds and still be able to run across a lake as fast as you want, but also has the ability to gear down to a more reasonable level for mid-trail use or light pulling and things like that. But what's really neat about our new system is it's going to allow you to go to a super low gear, which is going to be over 40% lower than anybody else in the industry. It gives you the opportunity to go at such slow speeds that you can get heavy loads moving without any fear or risk of belt or drivetrain issues. It allows you to get belt lockup and good engagement without any inefficiencies. All of our new Y-Tracks in our Pro Ute WT chassis come with a front-mounted radiator. It's a large radiator with a fan on it. This is going to greatly improve our cooling capacity and efficiency over previous models. We also have a front heat exchanger tied into that system, but what the large radiator allows you to do is move at slow speeds and in applications where you aren't getting that snow kick up onto a typical heat exchanger without overheating your engine, which obviously is very important for engine durability and engine life.
Built to work, built to play, built to let you ride more.
business has never been more committed to bringing you the product, the pricing, and the programs to help you be successful at your dealership.
One of the things that excited me the most is the new ZR200.
The new ZR200, it's pretty tough to beat that.
200 series, which I think is going to be interesting for all of the dealerships, not just our own.
I see a great potential for it, and I think it's a good step by the company, and I'm excited that we're going to have that opportunity.
Mom and Dad can jump on and rip around the yard and have a good time and not feel awkward. I like that the seat's higher. You can sit down on it and move around. The bars are up a little bit. It's a great sled.
The long-awaited new 800 DSI high-output C-Tech 2.
That new motor seems to be very, very nice. A lot more powerful than the other one.
Lower end, really nice. It's really smooth.
To really make sure that this new engine delivered the ultimate experience, we've married it up to what we're calling our new Ascender platform.
I'll tell you what, guys, this snowmobile is probably the coolest snowmobile that I've ever rode straight out of the box.
I've got a lot of time on it. It's a much better snowmobile. It gets on the snow better. It handles the deep snow really, really well, and there's more speed in the chassis with less throttle, so it's way more efficient.
This is a ground-up, race-ready vehicle. I'm telling you firsthand, it looks badass, it drives badass.
This Wildcat XX is just awesome. It's killer, it's got power, the handling is easy, it just swallows every bump. It's amazing. Can't wait to have this in my showroom floor. We're gonna sell lots of those.
Exciting, first of all, for me because I know so many of the dealers. They've been around, a lot of them have been dealers for many years, and they share the same passion and the same love that a lot of us have for the sport of snowmobiling and for the Arctic Cat brands.
What we love about this ZR200, it's family oriented. It gets kids off the couch, onto a snowmobile track to have a fantastic time.
I was scared at the beginning, but once I got on and figured out what to do, then it was really fun.
Really fast, and then when you go in the bumps, you fly up in the air and kind of go off. It goes faster.
It's her first time on it, so it's making me a little bit nervous, but she's having a great time.
My granddaughter's here, she's 7, so she's trying out the 200 Arctic Cat, and she's having a blast so far. Looks like there's a lot of kids here, a good turnout.
My son normally rides a 120, but his first complaint was at 7 years old, it's a little too slow for him, so I think a 200 is a better fit for him.
When we snowmobile, it's probably one of the biggest times of the year. We go up to the cabin and we usually have 3 generations of snowmobilers with us.
One of my first machines was roughly about this size. It was called a snow pony. Now today, kind of the same thing. I see it with my kids. We do lots of snowmobiling. We're heavily involved in it. It sticks in your blood when you start out young and you can keep doing it and bring it into your family.
Amazing that it's free. It's been fun to get out of the house and do something different. It's been awesome of them to put on a show like this.
This is great. This is super fun. It's a perfect spot to go try out the sleds, especially if it's your first time. So it feels safe. It's all really well controlled and really well organized.
Well, I think they did a really good job pulling this off. Like in Minnesota right now, there's not too much snow, so I was debating how it was going to be, but it went really well.
The interior of BC is gnarly. You have so many different aspects to face. You got weather, you've got terrain changes, you've got cliffs, there's trees, there's open alpine.
You look around, 360 degrees of just complete awesomeness.
Flying over the zone in the heli with Rob, Dave, and Brett, and kind of surveying what you're about to do, you could really see like the lines and the spaces in the trees where you could run.
That one right there, look at how sick that one is off the height of the cornice into the gully.
We come down out of the clouds, and here's 4 brand new snowmobiles sitting there in the middle of nowhere. We look at each other and it's just like everybody's mind's like, game on, boys.
We all went our separate ways. Each and every rider picked their own route, and it was badass.
Probably one of the best parts about riding snowmobiles is you can access places that just aren't realistic with any other form of transportation. I love riding the POW and carving and doing all that and exploring new stuff, but I also got to get my heart pumping a little bit. I need to get the track and the skis off the ground and get in the air, find some jumps. The creativity is probably the best part. When you're out there and able to find stuff that's unique to you and things that you want to do and fits your riding style, that's my favorite part.
You don't see very many sledders, you don't see any tracks. It's just like you and that moment of being in the backcountry. Just you, the powder, the snowmobile, it's surreal. You're hitting these wind drifts, you're side hilling. It just makes me feel like I'm on top of the world and just as close as I can get to heaven. It's just unbelievable how cool it is out here.
Mountain riding for me is kind of like it's almost like a day off. Just having fun with my buddies and just it's kind of like therapy for me. At the end of the day, there's a reason I guess we're doing what we're doing. We're good at snowmobiling. We might not be good at other things, but we're pretty good at snowmobiling. It's like we're painting a canvas with the mountain. The memories of ripping up this mountainside, I'll never forget them. It was awesome.
I'm basically tuning everything out around me. Once the helmet goes on and the goggles are tight, really relying on my inner senses to do things that scare the crap out of me. When I get on my sled in the morning to go mountain riding, I don't know what's going to happen throughout the day. It makes you realize, like, hey, if I screw this up, my sled writes off, I'm walking out of here 20 kilometers back to the house. The same fear factor that you get from doing a tsunami flip at the X Games and, walking away with a medal. Yeah, you come home, you don't got a medal, but you got a wife and kids. So it's different victories, but it's challenging each and every day.
When all 4 of us hooked up near the top of the mountain, it was awesome.
We're all just dicing like everybody loves to do in untracked snow, and it's just surreal.
You always remember those epic days, those deep days with your buddies, and you know, those are the rides you remember. Once you get to the summit, you're at the very top of a mountain, you know, highest peak around. That's a good feeling.
It's brought all of us together, put us in gnarly situations, and you know, it kind of makes me wonder where this thing's going next.